Hey everybody, Johnny B. Good here. Okay, we are just north of Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Once again, today it is August 17th, 2016. We are down to 472 miles to Cincinnati, Ohio. Our fuel is just above north of a quarter of a tank. We should be able to make it down to, I'm hoping we can make it to Remington. Oh man, I wish I could swing this camera around. Beautiful lake out here. Lake Butte. Sunset on the right, moonshine on the left, but beautiful. Okay, for those of you who are new to my channel, I told this story quite a while ago, but I think, some of you may appreciate it. My dad was born and raised here in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, but at an early age, well, let's just say their family was all kind of messed up as far as relationship goes. They belonged to one of the wealthiest families in Wisconsin at their time. And they were the high class society types, but of course my dad was the black sheep. I mean, literally sheep. he would be covered in grease and dirt, while everybody else was, coat and tie and having parties. My dad was out there in the garage taking apart engines and just looking like a grease monkey. And supposedly, I guess my dad and his mom never got along because she was one of those, high class people. And it was always Grandpa and my dad that got along. Unfortunately, my grandpa died before Grandma, so when Grandpa died, all that wealth was left behind to her, and she was in charge of all the how it was divided. And my dad only had one brother, no sisters. And well, it was put in such a way where I don't know the exact number. It was put in such a way that I think my uncle got, I don't know, maybe 60-70%, and the rest to my dad. My uncle had a complete access to his wealth and his inheritance, while my dad was given a trust. The trust was not his. Anything came out of the trust was his. But that meant free medical care. It meant that all the expenses where the trust covered it. So basically, my dad, in all his life, lived on the interest of the trust, and it was it, it started to be an okay amount, I suppose, but it was set up in such a way that every year it would grow and grow and grow. For many, many years, my dad tried to fight that trust. He just couldn't do it. It was ironclad. Let's put it this way. I think when my dad died, the trust was about 25 million, maybe a little bit more, maybe 30 million. So it was a quite significant amount of interest that came out of it. But my dad was, I don't know, he was weird in his own way, and he spent most of his money on buying machineries or, you know, CB radios and antennas and project things. My dad would never buy a brand new vehicle. He would always go and buy a used one, fix him up himself, and my dad never wore a coat and tie. And get this, the trust was written in such a way that when my dad died, that trust becomes no more. It becomes the sole property. Guess who? Guess who my grandma set it up for? Upon my dad's death, the trust solely became the sole property of my uncle. And it was no longer a trust. It was a full converted property. And it was his to take and do whatever he wants with it. So the day my dad died, my uncle won or inherited, 25-30 million dollars. That's really the short story of it, though. So anyway, the thing that I wanted to point out today was when my dad died. He died here in Sheboygan, but at a very early age, my dad left Wisconsin or left the USA to become a sailor in a merchant marine sailor, not a Navy, just a civilian sailor with shipping freights and everything. Started with being a deckhand and worked himself way to become the engineer. He did that around the world, for many years. He landed in the Philippines and, well, he jumped off ship and just stayed there for about 45 years. But when my dad died, he died in Sheboygan, and it was always his last wishes to be laid to rest back home in the Philippines. So, me and my brother, we brought him home, and he is there now. So when I got back here to Sheboygan after bringing my dad home, I found out that it was too painful for me to stay in Sheboygan. And I really miss my dad. So me and my family moved out to Houston, Texas. Trying to start a new life, a new place. We had no friends over there. except for a few people that I knew through the CB. I had a CB that I would talk on it, and it was a group of people that stood by or hang around a certain channel or frequency, which was 27.590 upper sideband. It's kind of above 40, but anyway, for many months I've been driving for JB Hunt at that time, and I got to know some of the people throughout the country, wherever Filipinos were, and one of them I kind of knew in Houston. So anyway, we moved to Houston, Texas, and we tried to live there, and oh boy, it was a bad mistake. We ended up living in downtown Houston. It was crowded. Siren would go off every night. We lived in a kind of an apartment complex, and I was scared to let my kids out. I remember a couple of times we had to bring my dad's tools and some personal stuff, and we had to go to the park and just sell whatever we could to make ends meet, make a little bit of money to pay the bills. After 8 months of living over there, we decided to go back to Sheboygan, where the school system was a lot better, much quieter. The city is a lot cleaner. The only thing that I really liked about Houston was the gasoline was almost like 75 cents to $1 cheaper. And yeah, Texas does not have a state income tax. Look at the size of that move. Yeah, we tried it over there. I hated it. I hated the idea that I had to sell my dad's tools and personal stuff to make it. I had no choice. Either, sentimental values of my dad's tools or taking care of my family. So it was a hard call, but it had to be done. So we came back to Sheboygan. My wife was, I think, 3-4 months pregnant. She didn't have a job. I didn't have a job. We had no home to come back to. But fortunately, by the grace of God, I came back to Sheboygan. I got me a truck driving job the next day with a company called Nordic Express, which I used to work for. So that kind of helped out. And there was we also were blessed to be able to find an apartment the day that we came back to Sheboygan. I couldn't believe it. And not long after that, see, one thing I forgot was when we were living in Houston, my wife studied CNA, nursing assistant over there. And when she got here, she applied for a job, and she was accepted, I don't know, a couple of days later. And one of the great things that happened was the place that she worked for was run by the Sheboygan County, and they were a government union, and they had top of the class health insurance. And so, well, 6 months later, I think it was, my wife delivered AJ, and it was covered by the health insurance. Boy, did that save us a ton of money. So when I worked for Nordic Express, in a short story, Nordic Express sold the company to Well Companies, WEL. And that's how I became an employee for Well. There's a lot more to that story, but it's way too long. Welcome to Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, everybody. We are down to 452 miles to Cincinnati, Ohio. I do want to add, though, about a year later, we were able to finance a house, and boy, did my wife and I, we did not know what we were doing. We did not know what we were getting into. But with her OCD to pay the bills and just keep at it, yeah, we made it. It was a 30-year mortgage. I think we're down to another 15 more years. Well, this video is getting way too long, and I don't know if you guys will be hanging around that much longer, so we'll catch you guys later. Once again, thank you so ever very much for watching. Try to be good here. Have a good and godly day, everybody.